Involved in the inheritance of a house, it may not be as simple as you think. Hi, I'm Kim Ward. I am a real estate broker here in beautiful San Diego. My company is Horizon Real Estate, and we are probate and trust help. The first thing is you don't want to assume that the house is free and clear. Just because there doesn't appear to be a mortgage doesn't mean there's not any type of financial attachments to the actual property. The property may still owe property taxes, including supplemental taxes, which is a whole other subject. We have a video on that if you want to find out about supplemental taxes after someone passes away here in San Diego County. Homeowners insurance, there may be a debt of homeowners insurance on the property. Most likely there's going to be maintenance and or utility costs such as SDG&E, keep that gas and electric on, and the water company. And it's possible that there could be some outstanding liens for medical bills, any type of contractor work that the decedent may have not paid, and again, maybe even unpaid taxes for federal or state taxes. I recommend that you always start with a complete financial record on the property. First, you're going to want to check the title. You want to verify the legal ownership of the property. A title company, a real estate professional, or even your probate attorney, they can verify the legal ownership of the property, what it's titled in. They can also spot any red flags that may be on the title, such as unknown liens or title defects. You're not going to want to move forward with selling the property or even renting the property until you know that the title is clean. It's important that you determine if a probate is required. If the property wasn't held in a trust or held jointly with another individual, it's most likely going to have to go through probate. And probate is the legal process where the house can be sold and the proceeds eventually distributed. And of course, you want to determine whether the house has to go through probate with an attorney early on in the process. You're going to want to make sure you get a professional appraisal. In the case of a probate, the appraiser is called a probate referee. In the case of a trust, you can get an appraisal by any licensed appraiser. This date of death appraisal, what it helps with is the step-up basis. This is what the property is worth as of the date of death. And just briefly, if your loved one purchased the property for $100,000 many decades ago, and the property is now worth $1 million, the value of the property as of the date of death would be $1 million, and that would establish your step-up basis. You want to talk to a CPA about that. It will also help to have that date of death appraisal to minimize any capital gains taxes and to somewhat clarify the value of the distribution to the beneficiaries. Getting that date of death appraisal, it's a must for the estate accounting and for the financial planning. Okay, you've got all that done, so now you want to make sure that you secure the property. If the property is vacant, you want to take care of this as soon as possible. First thing is to change all the locks, because you never know who has a key to the property. The next thing is to have all the mail forwarded to you. You can do this pretty easily online. You're going to want to either turn off the utilities, or if you choose to keep them on, which most people do, is you want to get those transferred into the estate name. You want to contact the utility companies so that you make sure that you continue to pay the utilities by receiving those utility bills. You're going to also want to consider vacant home insurance, because if something would happen and the insurance company determines that the property was vacant and they hadn't been notified, you could be financially and liable for any damage to the home. And the last thing I want to share with you is we have seen an uptick in property break-ins in the last few years. I don't know how people find out that the property is vacant. Maybe they see the obituaries, I don't know, but you're going to want to ensure that the property is as safe as possible, and we have a temporary alarm system company that's very reasonable and makes our clients feel more comfortable when the property is vacant, that if someone was to break in, they would be alerted. Next is to assess the actual condition of the property. You're going to want to do a thorough walkthrough to see any cosmetic issues with the property or deferred maintenance that can be addressed. Even simple, cost-effective improvements such as paint or changing some lighting or sometimes putting in new carpet and pads so it's really fresh looking will help the sale dramatically. We also recommend that there's a thorough cleaning of the property and including the windows and the screens. And we have companies that do all of this for you to make it easy on you. All of that will improve the buyer interest. And that's what you want if you're planning on selling the property, is to have buyers be interested so you receive multiple offers. Now, you're going to definitely want to decide your options of either to keep the property, sell the property, or rent the property. If there's more than just you as a beneficiary, of course you're going to have to talk that over with the rest of the beneficiaries. You'll need to evaluate the financial cost if you're choosing to keep and possibly rent the property. I would consider your emotional readiness to perhaps letting go of the property. And you need to be aware of the tax and legal responsibilities and consequences if you choose to keep the property, including that in 2020, Proposition 19 was voted on. And what that means to you is that as of the date of death of your loved one, the property taxes are going to increase to what the San Diego County tax assessor believes today is the value of the property. And we have a video about supplemental taxes that you probably want to watch next. And the last thing is to document your decisions clearly so there are no misunderstandings. Next is to go back to understanding your tax implications. You should meet with a tax professional and/or your attorney to talk this all over and get accurate information. You should ask them about any capital gains and clearly understand the step-up basis. And again, the tax reassessment here in California because of Proposition 19. If the best choice is to sell, you're going to want to prepare the house for the market. The first thing is you address all the personal items in the home. Next is those cost-effective repairs and the cleaning that we talked about earlier. And based on those lower cost repairs, you want to consider the painting, maybe changing out the knobs in the kitchen. We've done this many times and it really updates a property to take off 1980 curlicue knobs and handles and put in something more modern. And there may be other cost-effective repairs that will make a big difference on what the value is perceived by the buyers. And the last thing is our soft staging that we do for our clients. And what that does is helps with the emotional transition for the home buyers that are looking at the home. And the last thing that we want to share with you is to find a real estate company that understands probate and trust transactions. The reason is they aren't typical transactions, and not all real estate agents have had that type of experience. It's important that the person or team that you're working with, they understand the legal implications and the timelines, and that they have the emotional intelligence to help while the families, including you, the personal representative, may be grieving. And they have experience working with the courts, attorneys, tax professionals, and of course, title and escrow. Because the right team, they maximize the value to the estate and help to keep the whole process as stress-free or low stress as possible. I hope you found this of value. Please subscribe, hit that bell button, like, and if you have comments or questions, please post them. See you next week.